Welcome to On the Edge with April Mahoney Brains. You're at the spot, the place, where the conversation is pointed, the guests are sharp, and the responses are never dull. Did you bring your thinking caps? It's time to put them on, because the conversation starts now. And here we go. Welcome to On the Edge with April Mahoney Brains. How you doing today? You're back at the spot, your favorite place on the planet, the place where the conversation is pointed, the guests are sharp, and the responses are never dull. We're going to visit with Caryn Isaacs today. I have a situation, a personal situation, and I know that this conversation is going to ease my angst. She works with the senior population. Sometimes they are a forgotten commodity. People think once you hit 55 that life is over, but they don't know. 60 did something to me. And all of the chances that we have to reinvent ourselves still, the nuances. She's written a book. She is a patient advocate. She's an entrepreneur. So life is just budding for her. And I'm so excited to talk to her about that and a whole lot more. Let's welcome her to the show. How are you, Caryn?
Great, thank you.
Yeah. The first thing is I like is the spelling of your name, Caryn. That's very exotic.
So, my mother's choice, but also that's Whoopi Goldberg's real name.
Oh, really? I didn't know that. I didn't know that. So it's Karen Goldberg is her name.
Yeah, Karen something.
Yeah. I was going to say I don't know if Goldberg might be
Right.
her name either.
Yeah.
But tell us a little bit about you and how you show up in the world.
So I'm the one that doctors, lawyers, financial, and caregiving professionals trust with their important clients and annual conferences because I turn older adult thinking into full-blown aging icon energy.
Mm, mm, mm.
My real stories, books, improv events, um, video subscriptions, and legacy coaching will change the way you think about gray hair, wrinkles, and people you think are your parents' age. I will acknowledge, get you to acknowledge the aging icon inside yourself.
Wow. Because I look at myself and I'm like, I'm turning into my mother. I see it every day, but there's not a greater person that I could emulate than my mother. But a lot of times, well, I'll say it's outside influences that diminish the greatness of our seniors. I mean, we used to relish the wisdom of our elders, from the trends in fashion to political challenges that they've been through, saving money for a rainy day, being sweeter, gentler, kinder, old remedies to get that rheumatoid arthritis out your hand. You get that green alcohol. They have so much wisdom. And now, unfortunately, you don't even see a lot of the young kids spending time with their grandparents.
And, there's a whole group of people now who are speaking out to say the anti-aging business, which
Right,
is, to sell you products,
right.
uh, we're against it. So we're going to be uh, getting people, it's not just me. I didn't, I made up aging icon, but not the concept of what's that us who are of a certain age
Right, right,
are
right.
all in alliance and thinking, this is not how I think about myself. And as you said, when you think about your parents and you're not in the throes of caregiving, if your parents are already gone and you're thinking, how wonderful my mother was. I look at that too. How, all of the things that I did in my life, there are parts that I can say, yeah, that's because my mother did this or my father was involved in that. And so all of us think that we are ready, continuing to do that, and we're still their children. So many of us still feel, you don't feel like you're 90 years old.
No,
You,
you don't.
the 90-year-old will say, I still feel like I'm 20. I don't, obviously, I don't feel like I'm 20. There's a lot of things I can tell physically I'm
I
not
wouldn't
20.
personally, I wouldn't want to be 20 again. I was doing way too much.
Right. But I don't think of myself, I don't wake up and say, oh, I'm 75 years old now. I think, I'm still the same person that I was, when I was 40, when I was 50, when I was on my entrepreneurial journey has not really changed as far as wanting to do things and wanting to still be involved in life and certainly wanting to make some money.
Well, there's a couple things that I'm really seeing that seniors are doing that are impressing me. Um, One, they're not going to these retirement communities. They're living on cruise ships. I just came off of a cruise with the Cunard, and at first I was a little concerned because it did appear to be a little geriatric. I had never seen so many people going up and down the gangway in wheelchairs. But they'd park that wheelchair and they'd waddle over to the dance floor and they'd hold on to their other partner. They had the best time. They have their rooms taken care of. They have gourmet food. They're traveling the world. They're meeting new people. I thought that was absolutely brilliant. I told my husband, if either one of us separate from the other, go live on a cruise ship. They are starting businesses, they are volunteering, and a lot of companies, believe it or not, are looking for a more mature workforce because of their dedication, because of their responsibility, because of their accountability, and their buy into the company. So there's still a lot of value there. A lot of reinventing. Yeah, we've got to help them with the technology. That can be a little complicated. But when you look at their finance, their medical, and their legal, that's where you come in as a patient advocate. And I'm going to go into that a little bit more because I've got a situation with a friend that just arose yesterday. And I knew I was talking to you today. So this is exciting. What are some of the things that, um, as we mature, I don't want to say old, there's nothing old about me or you, but as we are more seasoned and more mature in life, what are some of the things that key components we need to put into place?
So I do something called an assessment because everybody is a different person. And so really what you need is dependent on who you are and what your goals are. Uh, Financial planners talk about your risk tolerance. So that's, how do you feel about what are your goals? Are you saving money for the children? Are you saving money for a cruise? Are you investing in a business? Are you getting income? These are all things that you need really, that's the first place to start. Because if you don't know what you're dealing with, then having a laundry list of things, you should do this, you should do this, set this up or that up. It doesn't matter. People always call me and they say, my neighbor told me that I should set up a trust. Do I need that? Or my children want me to have a will. So should I do it? It really depends on, what do you own? What are your goals? You want to spend it all on yourself? Do you want to spend some of it on yourself?
Yes,
Do
I
you
do.
know what you
I,
have?
I tick both of those boxes. I told my daughter, I said, you know what? I'm setting you up while I'm alive so that I can see you enjoy what I have worked for. But baby, this is part of the spin down. You better believe it. I am going to enjoy my life. I am not going to work my entire life for you to trick it off. That's not what I'm going to do.
Yeah. And I just actually spoke with a financial planner who said to me that so many of his clients, they make so much money because they're afraid they're going to run out of money,
Yeah.
and then they don't spend it. And that there's ways to make sure that you're saving and doing things for the future, but also enjoying it, enjoying what you're working for.
Yeah, we're in our 60s now. And I was telling my husband, we saved, a good amount of money to live a good life, but never taking profit. Well, we couldn't take profit before because you'd be penalized. But now we're at that age, it's like, I'm not going to be afraid. I'm going to go ahead and spend it. God willing, it will reproduce itself. And if it doesn't, this is what I worked for. When you talk about medical, there's a lot because our medical needs do change. Even though we want to be young in the mind, we can be old in the body. And that sciatica kicks in, or you've broken a hip, or you've got a disease, or whatever that situation may be. And it's hard to plan for that. But having all of your paperwork, medical power of attorney, uh, medical directives, people are afraid of that because they're afraid of this word dying. And dying is in my mind, it is a transition. And you have to prepare for dying just like you have to prepare for living. Would you agree, Caryn?
Yes, and it's also, yes, people say, I don't need it yet, or they say, my husband knows what I want, or my son knows what I want. And that is not a good planning method because um, it may not happen that way. And also, things have changed so much in medicine that when those plans were made to have a power of attorney, the healthcare agent forms that we have from the state, they just really aren't keeping up with what happens to somebody medically. So it could say, I don't want to have, and a great story is my cousin was had her paperwork done maybe 10 years ago. And she said she didn't want to be kept alive on machines. Who wants that? So on that, she said, no feeding tube, no feeding tube, because you think that's it. I'm going to get a feeding tube. I'll never be able to eat again. I'm on my way out. But she had a chronic digestive problem, which so many people have that. And she wound up losing so much weight, it looked as if she was ready to pass.
Mm.
She was in the hospital, and they said, we see something that is you in your diet. You're not eating well. You're eating spicy foods. You're drinking a lot of coffee. And if we can have you stop that, if you're willing to do it, because that's it. Like that's why I said it's really up to the person. They're going to have to say, I'm willing to make some changes. I'm willing to think outside the box. I'm willing to try some wellness things. If you're willing to do it, then we would like to put a feeding tube in, but it will be only for a short time. It will be a temporary thing while we bring your nutrition back up to speed, and then we can take it out. And that's what happened. But in order to do that, we had to um, change the paperwork
Mm-hmm.
right there. And so if you don't have a person who's readily available, you said it's your son, but your son now lives in another country, not available to be reached, or doesn't know what the situation is, doesn't understand the medical technology, isn't able to speak to doctors. That's by picking the right person. Sometimes it's not your family. Sometimes it's your best friend who goes with
Right,
you to all your doctor's appointments and knows how you've been eating at the restaurant. Who's a better person
right,
to pick?
right. Well, that's like me, perfect lead into my situation. I'm trying to help a friend that has had one leg amputated, and now he's having little complications with the other leg. And so I am trying to get him assisted living or in a senior apartment. I think that it would be great. He's around more people, he'll be active. There's other services and amenities, there's a gym, accessible, yada, yada. Well, I went through all the paperwork, filled out 9 applications, only to find out that he makes too much money. Yeah. And,
No,
and
not for, no, no. Right, so if assisted living, there's different types of assisted living. So assisted living is first of all, independent living. So
right,
independent living doesn't mean that you can do everything yourself. The reason you go to assisted living is because you don't want to cook anymore, you don't want to clean anymore,
right,
and besides the socialization. So independent means you can get to the dining room by yourself. Nobody has to come to get you or tell you you're aware it's lunchtime, it's breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Also, that you are able to feed yourself. So that would be independent. The next level is assisted. Assisted means now maybe you do need somebody that can cut your food up and do things like that, but his leg isn't stopping him from being
right,
able to know
right.
when to go to eat or to get there and do the eating. So he could be really in independent living. Um, Now, the money part is those are private facilities. So you don't make too much to go to private. If you have enough, it's enough.
Right.
And so I also talk about, what is the difference between living at home and living in assisted living. And I
Right.
have a program to talk about that, really goes through the numbers. It's the same because you save money on one side with not having certain overheads. And then the same thing when you're at home. If you require assistance, that's very costly as well. So anything that's going to be the ideal, what everybody would enjoy, is going to be very costly. So that's where insurance is involved, right? For everything. So long term, I always say what I can do for somebody with long term care insurance and now life insurance, life insurance or long term care insurance. Because life insurance you can borrow against, you can cash out your life insurance policy to pay for long term care. It's night and day because if you don't, it is
It is.
expensive. We're
And you have
talking
to,
about, $100,000 a year is not
right.
unusual.
And what you have to do, brains, is use your brain while you can be brainy. Think about this. Do you want to be at home and be taken care of? Understand what that looks like. The person that's going to come in and help clean up, cook, they need to be financially compensated for that. They don't owe you that. You need to make concessions for that. There's certain programs based upon your income, whether you would qualify for government subsidies or not. Or are you willing to, again, live in a co op situation where you would be in a retirement facility or
A shared room,
a
sharing a
share?
bathroom.
Exactly. Are you comfortable with that? And make that known. Also, put that in your paperwork because you don't want someone coming in, your niece that you've been, dealing with, but now she's disgruntled and she's waiting for dear Aunt Martha to keel over so that she can get the inheritance. Oh, well, let's just put her in this place. That may not be what Aunt Martha wants. And if it's documented, they have to do what Aunt Martha wants them to do.
Yeah. And
Um,
it's setting up those things. They said
right,
using your brain right, so using your brain to um and not everybody can uh financially, understand complex
right,
financial things and complex. It's making sure you have the right advisors. So,
exactly.
not
Those people that you
not,
can
not your
trust.
neighbor. You have to go to a professional. Don't go like, oh yeah, that's fine. Don't do it because they're going to take all your money if you go into assisted living. That's not true. Don't say, I can't go to a nursing home because I have to wait 5 years. That's not true. Those are just a snippet of somebody heard a little bit of something, it's playing
Right.
telephone and they heard the wrong thing.
And again, know
You
what
have
you
to
want.
really study these things and look into it and plan for it. And that's the hardest thing that we as professionals have. That's why the lawyers always have those meetings. I try to entice you with come for dinner and
Oh
listen
yeah,
to the planning, but
absolutely.
people do not want to do that planning. And then, that's how and then we see all the time, that the problems.
And
And also, I just wanted to touch on, fraud, a fraud story. I had a wonderful gentleman who he works in healthcare himself, but his daughter was an addict. His son was incarcerated, and he did not want them to be involved in his financial things, or he was not counting on them to do anything for him. So he had a social worker that he was friendly with at the hospital, at the clinic that he went to, but they're not allowed to act as a power of attorney. So they asked a lot of the people the calls that I get are from Adult Protective Services or from social workers or people like that. So I got to know him very well, and he happened to be Haitian, and so he liked to eat a certain type of food. He was not going to eat, a hamburger. So, what the agencies, they only need to show somebody how to make a um, a sandwich. He didn't eat sandwiches. He never had a sandwich in his life.
Right,
Right?
right.
So I've even had an aide that came in and we said the man wants a tuna fish sandwich. And he got the can and he was looking to get a frying pan. He didn't know what the tuna fish, aide didn't know what the tuna fish was. So we were able to get him a Haitian aide who had a big pot of fish soup every day. The house smelled fantastic. He was really, having living a good life. And he fell, and they knocked down his door and took him to the hospital. At the hospital, they push people to say family member. Who's your family member? And he kept saying, I don't have a family member. I don't want anyone to call my family. But they say, no, we have to have a family member. You must have it. So eventually he said, all right, the only person I have in this country is a niece. I do not know her. She's my cousin's daughter. I don't know her at all, but gave her number. She came to the hospital, and they're all like, oh, we're so happy you're his family, because that like lets them off the hook.
Right,
And then
right.
he said, okay, she can go to my apartment. It's all right for her to go get me some clothes or, whatever he needed. And oh, time goes by and he keeps saying, I want you to call Caryn. I have her business card. Please call my patient advocate, not this person. I don't want them helping me. And when I was finally called in and went to his apartment, I found that she had helped herself to his checkbook and not even just forged his signature. She didn't even bother to try to forge it. She just wrote his name, and was cleaning out his bank account. So we had to call the police and then get the DA and have her arrested. And
But
so,
having her arrested is never going to recoup the money that she stole. I had a situation with a friend that now this is a real winner. Someone called them on the phone, told them that there had been some fraudulent activity on your account. We need you to come down to the bank, bring your ID, withdraw X amount of dollars, come back, put the money in an envelope, put in a shoebox. We'll have a courier come by and pick it up. They did it.
yeah,
They did it. And I was like, wow. And I'm saying, okay, game knows game. If you had have not been in the right frame of mind or something all along, I can understand it. But at a certain point in time, you either go to one extreme or the next. You're frivolous with your money or you are uber tight. I mean, my mother could go in her, she'd keep a couple $1,000s in her purse all the time, but she could go down in that purse and feel every person's face on those bills. She knew it because, again, she grew up in 1929 where there was a sense of lack. And so now, I've got to hold on to the money. I got because it's not going to be enough. One day it's not going to be there. You got to save for a rainy day. I understand that. But as we get older, please, seniors that are listening to this, mature people that are listening to this, even young people get got these days. Pay attention. If it doesn't sound right, run it by somebody else before you do it. But for someone to tell you to go to the bank, withdraw money, and we're going to come by and pick it up, that just didn't line up for me. I had another woman on my show, bless her heart, got caught up in one of these uh, online dating scams. Her husband left her a boatload of money and he was very controlling and she wasn't going to be controlled. The next thing you know, these guys were talking, two African guys were speaking to her in German and she fell in love with them and gave them $300,000 within 35 days.
yes. I also had somebody, she was a PhD. So, she had the brains for it, but she
Right.
didn't use her brains. At the
And you
time,
know
she
what?
was just, he's
Sometimes,
in love with me. He wants to help me.
right.
And yes,
And they're
but
lonely and they want to be with someone and they want to be in love. I just went to a wedding not too long ago and they were 82 years old. It was the sweetest thing I had ever seen.
yes,
And I was like, she says, well, She said, we don't bump uglies like we used to. She said, but just the fact of just someone to hold my hand, someone that can put me up under their arm, someone to go to the movies with, someone to give me a sweet little kiss. So it's not always about the intimacy, it's about the companionship that you want. And the blue zone. Now, I know you know all about the blue zone.
Yeah.
I went to a networking meeting, and I tell you, these people are living to be 100 easy. It's socialization, it's exercise, it's their food, it's nature. It's not a big recipe,
Right.
but it is a
Well,
recipe.
and that's the idea of doing the financial planning, because and understanding, and to move on to the legal aspects of it, because the lawyer is really the last person to go to, not the first, like a lot of, because the lawyers are advertising, so people start there and they hear a lot of stuff. And a lot of the reason people don't do it is there's just so much to know. I say I cannot teach you to be a patient advocate. I had 40 years of working in the healthcare field before I became a patient advocate. It wasn't just I did it for my mother and now I can do it for everybody else.
Right,
And
right,
I had
right.
a lot of different experience in various parts. That's why I can talk about the insurance, because I worked for an insurance company. I also worked inside of doctors' offices. I set up a doctor's office. I set up an HMO. I have a lot of experience in different areas. And a lot of patient advocates specialize in one particular area. They may have been cancer, had cancer or helped somebody with cancer, and now they can have a, specialty in that area. So it's important to get, the right people who can help you. But the lawyers really, when they're going to fill out the forms, they want you to just come already with the information. Who do you want? What do you want us to put down in this situation? So you
They're
need to
like
do
the
a lot of
CPA.
learning
They just want
before.
to tick the boxes, you know?
So you need to learn all of those things and really, deep thinking about what you want your life to look like. Even if you have, they said somebody who lost their leg, they could have lost it in an accident. They could be 40 years old, they could be 20 years old,
Right,
and have not be able to work the same way that they were, or
right.
even live the same way they were. Uh, a medical condition, MS, ALS, some of these things that could um, interfere with being able to live on your own, needing to have assistance, whether it's besides long-term care insurance. It's There are ways to set up that's where the trusts and things come in. There's many different people say I need a trust, but it's not a trust.
Right,
There's 50 different kinds of trusts.
right.
And so it's setting up, how do you, put money away? How do you put money away? A lot of people don't know that um, IRA, a retirement account, is exempt from Medicaid. So if you have your money in an IRA, that money can really go a long way to keeping you very comfortable going on those cruises and doing things.
Exactly.
And that's your money. And you can still be covered under Medicaid to have aides helping you so you're not being wiped out.
Exactly.
You don't,
Because
but
that's
the
good to know.
people in the hospital are those people are not, and the people who own a home care agency or the nursing homes, they're not going to be telling you that. They just want their money. So they're going to say, no, you have to spend down. But that's not true. There's a lot of ways, even at the end, where you can save portions of the money.
I
So,
want to talk about the
yeah,
end for just for a second. When there's nobody, okay, where your legacy ends. You got a kid, and that kid doesn't have any kids. Okay, what are you gonna do? Um, do people think about that? Do they think about their philanthropic endeavors? I know me and my husband thought about that. My daughter said that she doesn't want to have any kids. Okay, the buck stops with her. What do I want to do with that? I thought about things that I was really passionate about, and I want to set that up now. And I have an elephant sanctuary in Thailand that I went and I absolutely fell in love with. I want to support that. My husband wants to support St. Jude's. You know, He wants to give to children with cancer patients. I love animals. You know, and if you start giving to those things now, they're also tax write-offs, you know. So talk to someone like Caryn to help you strategically plan in the event that you don't have anybody.
Yeah.
You know,
What yeah, my client, I mean, what my books are about is two books, Aging Icon Volume 1 and 2. And they're about people who use their money to set up a legacy. So one and my favorite story and probably my favorite person in the world, besides my own mother, is Beverly Taylor, who was a probation officer. And when she retired, she started to write plays, primarily plays. And she was so good at it that she was able to have them produced off Broadway. So this is not somebody she was meant doing it at her senior center. Her friends were reading it, and she became professional. And this is very similar to, she was born in 1925, and I so often, like you said about your mother in 29 and how people thought in those days. She didn't really want to spend anything, and she didn't know how much money she had. She had quite a bit that she had inherited from her husband. She didn't know that he had it. And then she had this money and she didn't want that lifestyle. She wasn't looking to do it. She wasn't all of a sudden going to go out and start buying jewelry and going
right,
on
right.
trips. Um, so what we decided to do was because she told me all this is going to be thrown away. She had reams and reams of papers, and it was all stories that she had written, plays, and even a novel. And she was, hurt by the feelings that everything that she had done and it would be lost. And so we decided to publish them as books, and we published 5 books. And she wrote a historic novel at 98 years old.
Wow.
And now it was set up so that the money is in a foundation that will continue that legacy.
Right.
And I go around and talk about her and talk about her book and promote it and try to get the plays performed by young people so that they would learn about the things that she talks about. And they're historic because they talk about those times, but uh, they're not her autobiography. They're real
Right.
fiction. They're like a movie. They could be a movie.
And it's beautiful. That's what I said. An ongoing legacy that doesn't necessarily mean generational wealth. Because I'm gonna tell you, there's some folks that aren't gonna get anything, and they're living. You know, and you got to have that conversation. Maybe you do, maybe you don't, but you have to figure out what you want to do with your stuff. Me and my husband got to the point we said, well, you know, at a certain point, we don't care because we're dead. We're going on to glory, and in glory, I don't think you need money. I don't think they're going to ask you for your ATM or your Visa card. So think about that. You know, what do you want them to say about you once that chapter of your life is closed? What did you do to make this place a better planet? What did you do to contribute to society, the animals, the water? What was your legacy? That is what's important. Your legacy is not only your books, but improv. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah. So people don't like to tell their personal stories. So when I do speaking and I, have the PowerPoint presentation and I'm showing, you know, these are people, I talk a lot about the different people that I know who have done these types of wonderful things in their life, and people who've had bad situations that they've overcome. But at the end, when you say any questions, nobody says anything. Right? Then people will call me later and say, I was at your talk and I had this whole story I want to tell you. So instead of doing that, I realized that with improv, it's you, but it's an imaginary circumstance.
Mm.
So the way I have wigs and costumes, and we
No.
say, um, I bring up a story, and the person will get a chance to just have some fun with it, like you did talk about your neighbor, it's easier for somebody to say, it's not me. I just would like to ask you some questions about my friend, but and then eventually they really say it's them. So once you're in costume, it's
Right.
easier to just say, this is what's going on. Like pretend you're this person, you were going to the doctor, what would you say at the doctor's office and make it funny and we joke around. But as the advocate, then I can answer them. And sometimes it's just me up there. I pretend I'm somebody. I come with my wig and my slippers and robe, and I act out a part. And then I rip off the robe, and underneath is my suit, and I'm back to the
Wow.
advocate. And
I bet it's a lot of fun for you too. Because again, your creativity, because we age, our creativity does not diminish. My mother was going through a period of dementia, and she would say to me, "Oh, my little friend came to visit me today." And I said, "You did?" She said, "Yes." She said she had on the cutest little skirt with those white socks and those patent leather shoes. And I didn't get upset about it at all. In fact, I was a little jealous because she was excited when she came. But I went with her. I went with her inside of her head, inside of her dreams, because that was reality to her.
Yeah.
I'm not going to argue with her or be combative with her about that as long as she's not hurting herself, because that is her reality. And for all I know, there might have been a little girl in here with a cute little skirt on, white socks, and patent leather shoes. Be patient.
Yeah.
Show these individuals some grace. If you are lucky, and I'm telling you, to age is a gift. I'm looking at the mass media right now, and it is horrifying. Horrifying that these young people don't even get a chance to finish college. Some of them don't even get a chance to finish elementary school. So to see that you have more years behind you than you do in front of you is a gift, and you better cherish it.
Yeah.
And I
And
will
I
look.
that is the what's wonderful about Facebook, because when my husband passed, the first thing I did was went joined the for widows only. It was just for women. It was a very safe space, closed group, and I still belong to it 5 years later. And there's people who are widows for 20 years who are on it, but just having that group. And then in Facebook, there's for any imaginable disease situation, there's a group. And I found that that was a lot more helpful than, say, like a small group grief counseling or,
Right.
having to travel to something. It's that ongoing, you just 3 o'clock in the morning, you're upset and you're just saying, why is this happening to me? Being able to go on to a Facebook group where there's people that, you know who they are because you've been seeing the same names or you know,
I had to convince Mama of that because she swore that Facebook was the devil. Says it's evil. I said, well, Mama, I said it would have been even more evil if we weren't able to be in the bed with the devil during COVID.
yes,
I
right.
said people connected, people gave their last rites. They, uh, they relieved their mental anxiety. They were able to communicate. So again, technology, it's different. It's different. And being a widower, I wanted to, ask you about that again. The wedding I just went to, both of them were widowers. I think she had been married twice. So this was husband number three. And I was impressed. Some women can't get a date. And she's, lived 80 years and she's had three husbands and outlived them all. So falling in love and dating, what do you think about that at a mature age? People shy away from it or their kids shun them. Oh, you're too old for that. Or you're too, what do you think?
Yeah. I was married my high school sweetheart. I
Mm.
knew my husband since I was 13 years old.
Oh, wow.
I have never been, I joke around, I've never been on a date
Mm.
because we had a relationship of friendship and then throughout our life together, or 50 years, we were together almost 60 years, 50 years married. Um, and my life is full with friends, female and male friends. I have people that I um, go out to eat with, people that I talk to on the phone, my Facebook and other types of online friends that I've never met in person, and my work friends, people that I meet from networking, people that I belong to uh, not-for-profit organizations who might have, similar interests to me. Uh, those are fulfilling to me. I'm involved in the symphony guild, so I go to. Somebody had asked me recently, um, "Oh, how do you feel about going to the symphony, getting all dressed up and going to a fancy place without having a date?" And I said, because I don't have that, and I just filled it in with by going
Exactly.
to the uh, becoming on the board. And so instead of sitting there waiting for my Prince Charming to come,
Right.
they put me to work greeting everybody. So I got to meet everybody that came to the symphony. So everybody
Right.
there
I
was
mean,
my
you're
friend.
gorgeous, and it's an option and it's a choice. It's not mandatory that anyone be with anyone else. And what you found, the greatest gift, was that renewed self love. A lot of times when you lose a partner of 50 years, I've been married 41 to Mr. Magnificent, and I don't know what I would do without him. But what you have to do is you still have to find a sense of self and self love. That's important. If you decide, good. If you don't, it's not a necessity. It's
No, but
not a requirement.
I say it's important to have other people in your life
Right.
during, while you're married. Not to, I have, in fact, I had a friend, I considered her a friend. We knew each other a long time. It was through business. She actually set up health fairs, and knew her because I was at all her health fairs. But she had nothing else in her life but going home to her husband and her daughter. So her husband then passed away. She was totally lost. And she did try to go onto these dating apps, and she expected a miracle to happen. You're going to find somebody, the same relationship that you have when you know somebody for many years. You're not going to just meet somebody, in a few weeks, everything is fantastic and you're madly in love and everything is perfect, because you're going to find out things about somebody that are not exactly how you were used to living. You sort of agree to disagree when you're married a long time, but you may not do that with somebody that you just met, who
Right.
also may have, come with their baggage and their family. Um, One of the things, we joke around about is I don't want a nurse. I don't want to be a nurse or a purse. So
Right. Exactly. Exactly.
yeah.
Exactly.
And that is scary to me too. I'm 75, and so what would be an appropriate person for me? Somebody that's, already, that I would have to, go through the same thing that I went through with my husband's long illness. I don't, definitely do not want to do that. And there would be no guarantee that somebody is not going to be. And I know there's a big difference between 75 and being in your 80s.
Right. It is. But you know what? You can find solace and you can find peace. So let's ask you some fun questions about you, Caryn. What is one of your favorite transformations? I mean, one of the your favorite characters that you create when you do one of your improvs.
So it's actually, people can see it on my YouTube channel.
Okay.
And I sort of put as a composition of just a regular person, of who you think an older person is. So I I like to bring people don't want a walker. And people say, if I have a walker, if I have a cane, it's going to age me. People are going to say, oh, that's an old person. Can't do it. So, of course, it's a shopping cart, right? What do you have? You have a shopping cart. And in the shopping cart, I bring out all the things that people bring with them. So, I need to bring with you a box of tissues I have to have in my shopping cart. It's like a giant pocketbook, but also I show that I have my medications and I have a little packet of chicken soup. So in case I get hungry, I can ask for some hot water and I can put myself together so I don't have to spend any money. I'll have my soup with me. And at the end, I say, and I have this mail, and the mail that I really, want to go through that's important is I the things that they sent me from the funeral home to make my decisions.
Oh goodness. Oh, that's funny. That is too funny. If you were an appliance in the kitchen of all places, what appliance would you be, Karen?
The handheld blender. So
Why would you be the handheld blender?
because I love to put all the parts together. I like to look at every possibility that there is and just say, how do we, make a big full life and how do we put it all together? But I want it to be handheld because I want to be able to move it from here to here, put it in a little bit at a time.
That's cool. I think I'd be the air fryer. I want it to be modern. I want it to be quick. I want it to be slick. Just a little bit of grease, be crispy and juicy. Yeah, I think I'd be the air fryer. I would do that. If you had an opportunity to time travel, go back to the past, stay here in the present, project to the future, where do you see yourself landing?
So I look at my future. I am very excited about the things that I'm doing now, which include exploring AI. I am making a new website that is all videos so that people don't have to read to find out what I'm all about or for me to answer questions, especially questions that I can offer people information for free without them having to go looking for something. So they would be able to speak the question, and Mr. AI will bring up the right video. I find that very exciting. It's really interesting to hear about the technology. Um, I live in I live very close to where they're going to be going to the moon. And so I plan to go and watch the launch and see them
Oh,
go to the moon.
I thought you were gonna get a ticket.
Yeah, I might do that.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I
Absolutely.
mean, I was there for the other walk. I was
Absolutely.
there for the other walk. I was, in junior high, and I remember watching it and how amazing it was. So yeah, the opportunity is there to go to see it, and I'm gonna, you know, get up there and
Absolutely.
go.
If you could have a conversation with yourself at 25 years old, what would you say to Karen Isaac?
And so Caryn Isaacs at 25, I was a quarter of a century in the bicentennial.
Mm.
So it was 25 in 1976. And it was a great time because I just started my business, which was called Dental Design, and I made custom business systems for dentists.
Oh, wow.
Uh, Um, I had been working in an insurance company, and I was supervisor of claims, but my next position would have been taking over my boss's job. So he said, you really should be a consultant. And I knew a lot of doctors, and they wanted to open up their own practices. So I got involved with um, finding locations, buying equipment, setting up uh, their systems, getting them marketing. And so I could only say this is your being able to
This is
set
the
up
blueprint,
the,
right? This is your
the
blueprint.
blueprint. It's setting up, being able to uh, have a foundation for building on a business. So I think I wanted to be a star on Broadway when I grew up. I took voice lessons from Emma Foos, who was Toscanini's alto. I love to go to all of the shows. I had my lead in my senior play, and
Oh, wow.
but when I went to auditions, I realized I really wanted to marry my husband. So I decided to get into healthcare, which is a stable career.
Right.
But I wasn't going to just be a house, that was just who I am. I wasn't going to sit around. I was always looking for opportunities. So
Absolutely.
I think I was just going to say, go for it.
Absolutely. What would you say as some words of encouragement to other aging icons to keep them motivated, to keep them vivacious, and to be proud of who they are and to grab hold to every moment?
So I am a coach, but because as most coaches are, we love coaching. We like to get coaching. And so there were many coaches that brought Aging Icon to life. And one of the first people that I had spoken to about what I was going to do as my post widowhood um, career, my improv director said, oh, all your clients are icons because I talked about, all of them as how exciting I found them. And I just find something exciting and interesting in everyone. I think, it's listening to them or giving them an opportunity to speak about what really matters to them. And once they talk about the thing they really love, there's so much for them to impart to people. And so taking that and saying, how do we then transfer that to being able to leave your legacy? Um, she said to me, all your clients are icons. And I thought about it and I said, they're aging icons. And then from there, I took coaching with Scott Mason, who is the myth slayer. And he slays your myths because you may think something about yourself. You're too old, don't have the money, you're too afraid. And he brings up Greek myths that happened to people way back then. And just to show you, it's not about you, right? This is what the world is. Nothing's different that's never been done before.
Right.
Right? And to allow you to feel comfortable to say, okay, you can go for it.
Right.
Uh, and then that's why my business Aging Icon is not the patient advocacy business. The Aging Icon is legacy coaching, which is to get people to go through the process of, who do you think you really are and knowing who you are. If you love yourself and you could want to impart that of yourself, how does that look as a business? How can we frame it? Whether it doesn't have to be a money-making business. It could be a volunteer business. It could be your Facebook group. It could be your local group and this, wherever a bunch of people in your building who you're sharing a book club with, it is whatever it is that's, they're going to volunteer at the hospital. It doesn't have to be something, that uh, especially now Facebook is so filled with we can tell you how to make money even if you've never done it before. None of that is true. Right, that would
But
be the
but
thing. Don't use your
also,
brain if it sounds too good to be true. You can't do that.
right, but also taking your time. It's like my husband retired and I said, "So what are you going to do today?" And he said, "Not a damn thing." And you can do that. And I'm like, "It's 10:30." He goes, and enjoy your life. You don't want to be that person that passes away and people are at your memorial and they say, "Oh my God, April was such a hard worker. I mean, she never took a day off. She never took a vacation. Oh my God, I don't know how her husband, just tolerated her doing this, doing that." Step back and, as they say, smell the roses.
Yeah.
Oh, you got
And that's it. And do make sure that because it's self-love, right? So
right.
if you and self-care, if you have that time, that day that you're going to take off, do what you really love. Don't say, unfortunately, that's what I say about people who are thinking about going to assisted living. If you're somebody who never was social and you just stayed home with your family, you was the selfless person who just did for everybody else, and you never did anything for yourself, then it's going to be very difficult for you to now start to socialize or to do these things. So
Right,
you
right.
it's taking so if I take a day off, I'm gonna start out the day with I put in a walk-in tub with the jacuzzi. So I realized that's something I really love to do. And so that's some money that I spent on myself and I use it. I say, okay, I'm off today. I have now 2 hours I can lounge around in the tub.
Do it,
Um,
but enjoy your life. Okay, that's what this is all that we know. This is all that we know right now. This is all that we have is the present. So enjoy the gift. Enjoy the gift. Please tell us, Caryn, how to get in contact with you, how to work with you to, we're local there, or if you're taking that improv on the road, how to get a copy of the books and also your coaching.
Thank you. So everything is branded as Aging Icon. Aging Icon is a registered trademark, um, and it's Facebook, it's LinkedIn, it's Instagram, it's TikTok, it's X. Wherever you get your information, just look at Aging Icon or Google me, Aging Icon. Even AI now is bringing up what aging icon will show who I am. Wikipedia next, but on Amazon, aging icon. YouTube, it's aging icon live. So uh,
I absolutely love the name Aging Icon. I think that I'm so glad that you trademarked it because it's definitely, it speaks volumes. Brains, go in and love, like, share, subscribe. Check in with Caryn. You're aging every second. Okay. Don't think that you're not. You can get all of the cosmetic surgery you want and all this other kind of stuff. But I'm telling you, we are all organic and we're going to expire. But I want my fruit to be ripe. I don't want it to go rotten. Okay. So thank you so much, Caryn, for being here on the show. And we will play this to everybody, not just one particular age group or genre, because again, like I said, everybody's going to expire. Thank you so much for being here with us today.
thank you. Thank you.
Bye, brains. Take care of yourself.